What's up, everybody? My name is Shane Drayton, and welcome to Drayton's Rebuild and Restoration. One more quick thing before we get into the bike. As you can probably tell, there's a lot of wind going on. It's probably going to be throughout this whole video. I'm going to see if I can figure that out. If I can't, I apologize. Like I said, second time doing YouTube, not too great out of it, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, like I was saying, 1988 Harley Davidson Sportster 1200. Let's just dive into this thing and see what's going on with it. So as you can tell, carburetor is missing. Previous owner gave it to me. He rebuilt it. It's all clean. So that's ready to be thrown on. Not too worried about that. Gas tank, the liner inside of the tank is starting to flake. So the previous owner started that process, but we're gonna finish it. I gotta figure out how to do that, but we'll get it done. I just don't want any contaminants getting into the motor, causing more problems that I have to deal with in the future. So other than the two main problems with it, the bike just needs to be cleaned. Front wheel, rear wheel, just corroded, real dull. See if I can shine them up, make them look pretty again. Same thing with both sides of the motor, the casing here. It's just dull, needs to be cleaned up. Shouldn't be too bad. A couple nuts and bolts missing here and there. A couple bolts that need to be taken out, cleaned up, painted, or anything, put them back in. But other than that, it's not going to be too bad. This is my first motorcycle that I've ever owned, and it's going to be a learning experience for me, and I am happy to share it with you guys. Now that we're back in the shop where it's nice and warm, this is the carburetor that came with the bike. This is the one that the previous owner rebuilt. Just talked to him. No reason to dig around in there. As you can see, it's pretty clean. Carburetor also came with extra gaskets, some O-rings, and also air cleaner, air filter, and the cover. Just like everything else on the bike, the cover needs to be cleaned up, shined up, and it'll be good to go. So next step, we're gonna go out to the bike, try and get this carburetor on, and see what happens. All right, so we went ahead and threw on the throttle cables, put the O-ring in its groove in the back of the carburetor here. I usually put some Vaseline, petroleum jelly on the O-ring. It's not gonna hurt the O-ring, and it also helps it stay in place while you're handling the carburetor. So stabbed it up here, check the O-ring again. You're gonna have to take the ignition switch off the frame. It's just one nut, not too bad. All right, carburetor is put on. I'm just gonna have to adjust these throttle cables a little bit. Just make sure this is all loose and ready to go. But carburetor's on, looks good. So today is day 2, working on the new project bike. As you can see, it's snowing outside right now, so I definitely want to get this carburetor covered up. Just ran to Lowe's, got these 2 bolts, also these 3 screws, and then these 3 screws that hold the cover on. So we're gonna open up the little packages and get this on. Okay, so I went ahead and threw in the top 2 bolts. Those ones were 5/16, 18, did 3/4 inch for that one. So for these 3 smaller ones in here, I went with a quarter 20 by 1/2 inch. Throw them in real quick. I left these top 2 ones a little bit loose. I just had it there to hold it up so I can get these 3 to seal properly. Usually put some RTV behind this plate up against the carburetor, but I'm taking it off to clean it later on. I just want to get the bike started before I start cleaning everything up. Alright, so those 3 are nice and snugged up. I go back and tighten the top 2. Also, I missed it the first time, but this is the choke, so make sure you slide it on top of this pin here. I did miss that, so we'll go back and tighten these up now. Cool. Everything still works properly, so we're gonna go grab the air cleaner, throw that on, and then throw the cover on. Went ahead and threw the air filter on. I'll slap this bad boy on there. For these bolts, I went with quarter 20 by 1 inch. The only reason why I went longer with these ones is these posts stick out a lot farther to allow you to put a longer bolt in there. There it is. Looks good. So we're back in the shop, work on the gas tank for a little bit. Like I said earlier in the video, the lining inside the tank is starting to flake and get all nasty. So we're gonna work on that for a little bit. I read online that you can fill the gas tank with some kind of liquid, acetone, paint thinner, that kind of thing, and also put some nuts and bolts in it and shake it around. The guy that I bought it from, like I said earlier, he already started the process of cleaning it, and that's exactly what he did. Down in the tank here, there's nuts, and it also smells like he put gasoline in here. So all I saw online, what he was telling me, is you take the tank, put the nuts in there, You can use liquid or not. I guess he did. Just shake it around like that. He was also saying that you could hook up an air line to the petcock down here and blow it up through, and it'll blow the flakes out. So I'm gonna work on that for a little bit, and I'll let you guys know how that goes. So I'd have to say this trick worked pretty well. The gas tank is super clean on the inside. This is what came out of it. The bucket was a little dirty to begin with, but there's a lot of stuff floating around in there. This is what the guy had on the inside. He had already started the process, so I only shook it for probably another 20 minutes or so. But if you're gonna do this trick yourself, one thing I recommend is keep everything magnetic. So all of this stuff was magnetic, came out super easy, but there were brass parts inside of it also. So these ones, I had to make this little tool. It's just a rod with an Allen key taped onto the end of it, and I was able to put it inside of there and pick it up out of the tank. So I was fortunate enough with these ones, but there were two left over that I think are still in here. See, there's one right there. I tried to get them out, and I ended up just shaking the tank, just messing around, and they ended up coming out. So, trick worked very well. Just please use magnetic parts. So after cleaning the tank last night, threw it on the bike, didn't film it, but I think we're ready to start this. I just ran some temporary fuel line right now. I'm not really happy about how that's run, so we're gonna have to figure that later on. But let's turn the choke on and see what she will do. So that's a wrap on today's video. Got the bike back together. Idle is good. Doesn't run great. Got some carb adjustments to do. Other than that, I don't think the battery is charging all that well. I gotta look at the charging system on this bike. But overall, pretty happy with the progress so far. Like I mentioned before, this is my first motorcycle. So I took it for a ride, and it's a lot different than riding a dirt bike. I'm used to being able to put my foot out, that kind of thing. I've ridden sport bikes, but I've never ridden a motorcycle where your feet are stretched out in front of you like that. So it's a learning curve. I enjoyed taking around the block, even though it didn't run great. The next biggest thing I gotta do or make a decision on is what to do with this paint. But I thought it'd be fun to leave it up to the viewers. Anybody that's made it this far in the video, let me know what you want to see done to this bike. I think it'd be cool to let you guys decide. Not a huge fan of the flames. Never really has done anything for me. Also, the paint job isn't that great. The clear coat is peeling up top here. There's bubbles here and there on the front and rear fenders. So that's got to be taken care of. So I'm excited to keep this process going. But I want to thank everybody who has stayed watching this far in the video. That means a lot to me, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you.